So if you want to be the person that everyone tags in different Facebook groups the moment they ask a question about your subject matter, or if you want to be the person that gets invited on podcast interviews because every time someone asks for a recommendation related to that topic, your name pops up, or if you want your book, your podcast, your show, your course to be the only recommendation that comes through when someone asks a question about that group, when you are the top of mind resource, the go-to resource for anything related to your industry, then you need to be the leader in that industry. Now, even though there is a lot of, look at me, I'm awesome, and so much crowded, the industries are so crowded, it may seem like it's not really possible. But if you stick around and listen to me, give you these 5 tricks that you can use to actually become the undisputed leader in your industry, your chances will be at least 5 times better. Because 5 tips, 5 times better, yeah? My name is Bushra Azhar. I'm the founder of the Persuasion Revolution, and I teach tiny businesses just like you to make big bucks using the psychology of persuasion. And in today's session of 30 Days of Persuasion, 30 Days of Persuasion, I'm sharing with you 5 quick tips. What's wrong with me today? 5 quick tricks that you can use to become the undisputed leader in your industry. There is a sequence to follow, and if you stick around, I will share that sequence with you. See me, hear me, leave a comment, give me a heart, give me a thumbs up so I know that you exist and that my existence is validated and I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. And I will also take a moment to share this broadcast with someone because more people need to hear about this, because the entire universe needs to hear about this, because this is important. Because we just have so many fake experts out there that I'm kind of done with them, and I want you to be the undisputed leader in your industry, and you better listen to me. Okay. So we'll just share this. You do the same, do it. And the sound is okay, the face is okay, too much makeup, but that's fine. Okay. So let's talk about what those 5 tricks are. The session will be a little bit shorter than the remaining, than my regular sessions, because I want to keep it short and punchy and extremely actionable so you can start going and doing it and implementing it on your own. Now, one thing that I would recommend you do is that you cycle through these things. You cycle through these tricks. Don't just take one trick and press hard on that. Instead, cycle through these. So use trick number 1, and then use trick number 2, and then 3, 4, 5, and then start again from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do it for 3 months, and then come back to me and tell me how much your status has changed. I promise you, it will change a lot, massively. And if you embrace these, then you will be the undisputed leader. Like, there is no question about it. So, trick number one. What the hell is wrong with my tongue today? Okay. Trick number 1. Acknowledge why status quo is not working. So make a big, massive statement. Express your opinion as to why the status quo, the existing status of the industry, is not working. Because this is what leaders do. This is what Steve Jobs did. When he came out with the iPhone and this concept of iPod and Apple, it was all a giant FU to the existing industry, existing computing industry. Because you're saying, you know what? It's not working. These are things that make this industry lame. So you will be stepping out and you will be pissing off a lot of people. But again, that's what leaders do. Leaders have opinions, and in expressing those opinions, they will piss off some people. So do not worry about that. If you're afraid of creating stir, if you're afraid of being too vocal with your opinions, if you're afraid that you will piss people off, then I have bad news for you. You will never be the leader, because this is what leaders do. They have strong opinions and they're not afraid to use them. So the first thing you're going to do is acknowledge why the status quo is not working. The status quo, the industry practices, the way the industry works, whatever your issues with the industry are. Again, if you're trying to meld with everyone else in the industry, if you just want to be one of the many people in the industry, then this session is not for you. You can click off right now and then just go do your thing. But if you want to rise above all the others, then you have to tell them why you deserve to rise above all the rest. You have to tell them why the status quo is not working, what others are doing that is not enough, what others are doing that is wrong, what others are doing that is counterproductive, what others are doing that is downright harmful. God, I need to, okay, maybe I talk too much today. And you don't just talk about it saying, oh, it sucks. No, no, no. You need to talk about it in a way that elicits anger, that elicits rage, that elicits this shame on settling for the status quo. Now, I am not asking you to create drama or polarize people for no reason. All I'm saying is find something in your industry that you absolutely do not agree with, that you think is causing harm to other people, and then start speaking up against it. But don't just speak up and it's like, I don't agree with you. No, no, no. Talk about it in a way where people feel the rage and feel your passion and feel your anger as it radiates through the screen and punches them in the gut. Talk about it in a way where people are like, oh my God, she's so passionate about it and she knows what we're going through. You got to talk about it in a way where anyone who's listening to you, who's been hurt by those standard industry practices, is going to be like, oh my God, this is gotta fucking stop. Because guess what happens? When you do this, you will get people, because they've been bitten by those standard industry practices that you're speaking against, they will become your supporters. They are going to become your arms and your legs and your voice out in the market. They are the ones who will tag you. They are the ones who will talk about you. It's like you're an army of naysayers who will go on and who will talk about how you stand for something that is different. You stand for something which is not the status quo, and you stand for something that is better. That's your first step. You don't have to do it all the time. You don't have to whine and complain. And again, this is not whining and complaining. This is not like, I'm sick and tired of what's going on in the industry. No, it's coming out and saying, this is not okay. I am not going to settle for this. I am someone who operates in that industry, and I refuse to accept that as the status quo. So you're not whining and complaining. Instead, you're kind of drawing a line in the sand. You're saying, this is not okay. I'm not going to stand for it, right? That's your step number one. Your step number two is create a group. So get those supporters and do that in a very vocal manner. So are you with this or are you against? So are you with them? Are you with us or are you against us? That kind of a feeling. So basically you're saying is, this is what the status quo stands for. This is what the industry stands for. This is how I want to change it. Where do you fall? Are you here or are you here? And those who are in the middle, they're not your people. The worst thing that you can do to your business is attract a lot of neutrals. Those who are in the middle, those who are a little bit of this and a little bit of this. No, you want to get people who are with you versus those who are not with you. You will attract haters. You will get people who's like, don't try to create negativity. You're trying to create negativity. Why is everyone trying to create negativity? Fuck it. You have to create negativity. If you stand for something that is better, if you stand for something that will bring better results, if you know that something else is harmful, it's not working, then you gotta speak out. I hear this a lot, say, stay on your own lane, focus on your own things. That's not how businesses work, and that's not how industry leaders are created. If you are someone who works with women's health and you see something that the industry leaders are proclaiming to help and it's not helping, it's causing harm, you gotta speak up. If you just stay on your own lane and just pretend like it doesn't exist, it makes you mediocre. It never makes you an expert. You gotta step up and you gotta tell them, this is my opinion, and then create a group. So this is where your leadership capabilities come in, and you position it as, you know what, if you stick around with me, this is what happens, versus if you stick around with them, that's what happens. And it's very common in the weight loss nutrition industry. You know, there are people who are keto, and then there are people who are low carb, and there are people who are something else, I don't even know. And it creates a lot of hostility. I'm not talking about creating hostility. All I'm saying is that you have to be clear and you have to draw a line and say, this is what happens. Show them what happens when they stick around with you. So people who stick around with your point of view or your ideologies or your opinions or your strategies, this is how you label them. This is how you classify them, that us versus them. It is important because, again, if you don't do it, and I can already hear people saying, oh, we don't want to create negativity. We don't have to, just stay in your own lane, focus on the positive. All that is great, but that's not what makes leaders. Look up any leader, political, corporate, real business. Look at any industry leader and tell me if that is not true. If you want to be the leader, then you gotta have an opinion, and that opinion has to be polarizing. That's the reality. Number three, make your option as the only logical choice. So your job is to, because if you're going to come out of the blue and then start talking about why everything in the industry sucks and you literally have nothing to back up your claim, then you're going to fall flat on your face and you will probably lose all authority. So don't do that. Instead, you are going to come up with logical explanations that position you as the only logical choice. So the reason status quo is not working is this and this and this and this and this. And the reason my solution, or the reason what I recommend is it works, is this and this and this and this and this. And the best way to do that is to come up with a branded framework. So instead of just having random thoughts as to why your system works, systemize your process in a branded framework. Have a system or a framework or a strategy model that actually encompasses what you stand for. It includes your strategy, your process, your steps, how it is different from everything else, and why it works. Unless you have that branded system, that branded framework, it is hard for you to say, listen to me because I don't know, I have better lipstick. It does not sound as well thought out. So you need to look at everything else that the status quo is not delivering, it's not addressing, and then you need to then point by point address that in your system. Come up with a branded framework, come up with a branded system. I'm sure you know how to get results. All you have to do is to take those steps to get the results and systemize them in a branded framework, or in a setting that gets people wake up and think, oh, okay, I know what she's talking about. The next one is, number 4 is enter the conversation that's happening in their heads. So when you come out with this and you become vocal about it and you start talking about all of those things, what will happen more often than not is that people will start getting objections. They will start and they'll start voicing them. They will start talking about, the most common objection I can tell you from now is, stop creating negativity. We stay in your own lane. Why do you have to diss others to make yourself look better? You don't have to cut someone down to rise above. All of that. I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot as well. Why do we have to do that? Now, what your job is to make a list of the possible objections that you can think of and start addressing them in your conversation before people start asking them. Because if you wait till people voice those opinions, it'll be too late. You need to figure out what the objections are going to be about your approach, about your system, about you, your background, your anything really, and start answering those questions in your communication, in your videos, in your emails, in your social media, in any interview that you do. Start addressing those objections. Enter the conversation that's going on in your buyer's head and start addressing them before they ask them, because once they ask them, it's too late. And the last point is start painting the picture of the promised land, whatever the promised land is. So whatever is the after that they can think of, start painting a picture of the after. Most people just do this. The last step, they don't question the status quo. They don't share their branded framework. They don't share why they're different. They don't share any of those things. Instead, they just jump right in and start talking about the promised land. This is how your life is going to be changed, how your life is going to change after you start working with me. That is all great, but you need to do all these other steps before you start showing them the promised land. And yes, showing them the promised land is important because it activates the desirability switch, and we all want to have that desirability switch activated. We all want to live the experience of what life is going to be with you or with your solution. But do that if you want to establish leadership in the industry, then do that only after you've done the first 4 steps. So what I like to do is, if you want to follow this framework, if you're not afraid to have an opinion and share that opinion and call bullshit on all these other industry practices, if you want to call bullshit on all these other industry practices, then what I recommend you do is go through each one of these steps one after the other. So step 1, step 2, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then rinse, lather, rinse, repeat. Yes, you will get haters. Yes, you will get people to say, why do you have to create negativity? Don't diss others to pull yourself up. All that is stay in your lane. All that is great and fine. But this is what leaders do. They make you see why they are the logical solution. They are the logical best solution that's out there. And if you want a certain type of, if you are a certain type of person wanting a certain type of results, then your solution is the only logical solution. And that is how you become the undisputed leader in your industry. So I promise the session will be shorter today, but I just went on and on because I love talking. So if you enjoyed this session, please go on and share this broadcast, even though I'm at the end and I didn't ask you to share it before, but please go on and share this broadcast, because there's someone out there who needs this information. And by not sharing it, you are denying them the chance to actually share this. Share this with your friends on your own. All you have to do is press the button, share this broadcast while I'm still live, or whether you're watching the replay, with someone in your newsfeed, a friend, or send it to someone, inbox it to someone who can benefit from this. And also go check out my best-selling book on persuasion and consumer behavior. It's called Mass Persuasion Method. The link is bit.ly/mpmbook. I will also link it out when I finish this, but please go on, get a copy of the book, and it'll allow you to craft the right perception amongst your people, to use the 8 psychological switches to get a yes every time. And also, when you order a paperback of the book, you also get access to $800 worth of bonuses. So go buy the book and then come back to this page and claim your bonuses. I can't wait for you to get your hands, grubby little hands on the book itself, and then on the bonuses, because they're awesome. Thank you so much. I am signing off right now. I will see you really soon with another session on 30 days of persuasion. I have lost count of how many days I've done, so please don't ask me which day this is, but I am going to be back really soon, which is tomorrow,